The plane landed safely. No alarms. No emergency. No sign that anything was wrong. The wheels touched down smoothly on the runway, just like they had hundreds of times before. Another routine arrival in the middle of the night. One by one, passengers stood up, stretched, grabbed their bags, and made their way toward the exit. Some were half asleep. Some were already on their phones. Some didn't even remember the flight. Within minutes, the cabin was empty. Every passenger got off. Every carry-on was taken. Every overhead bin left open and bare. Even the checked luggage was claimed. Nothing left behind. Nothing out of place. It was just another quiet landing. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. Because when the crew began their final walkthrough of the aircraft, checking each row, making sure nothing had been forgotten, they saw something that shouldn't have been there. At first, it didn't make sense. Row after row was empty. Seats untouched. Seatbelts hanging loose. Blankets folded or abandoned. Until they reached row 17. And that's when they stopped. Because someone was still sitting there. In seat 17A. Completely still. Head slightly tilted. Facing forward. As if they had never gotten the signal to leave. For a moment, no one said anything. Maybe they missed the announcement. Maybe they were asleep. It happens. But something felt wrong. The silence around that seat felt heavier. Colder. Like the air itself had changed. And then one of the crew members said something that made everything worse. That seat was never booked. Not on this flight. Not by any passenger. It wasn't on the manifest. No ticket. No name. Seat 17A was supposed to be empty. And yet, someone was sitting in it. Before we begin, welcome to Midnight Tales. If you enjoy true scary stories and real experiences from people who have encountered the unexplained, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Because here, we share some of the most chilling stories found anywhere on the internet. Now let's begin. Flight 717 was a routine red-eye from Chicago to Los Angeles. The kind of flight no one really thinks about. The kind people book without a second thought, just to get from one city to another while they sleep. Departure was scheduled for 11:42 p.m. Late enough that the airport had already started to quiet down. The crowds were thinner. The lights a little dimmer. Voices softer, more tired. At gate C-17, passengers waited with that familiar late-night energy. Half awake. Half impatient. Some scrolling endlessly on their phones. Others leaning against their luggage, eyes barely open. When boarding was announced, no one rushed. They moved slowly. Almost mechanically. Boarding passes were scanned one by one. A soft beep each time. Green light. Step forward. No confusion. No issues. Everything was smooth. Inside the aircraft, the cabin lights glowed softly. Not too bright. Just enough to guide people to their seats. Flight attendants greeted each passenger with practiced smiles. Polite. Professional. Predictable. Welcome aboard. Seat 14C is just down the aisle. Let me help you with that bag. The usual routine. Passengers settled in quickly. Overhead bins opened and closed. Seatbelts clicked into place. Jackets folded. Neck pillows adjusted. A mother whispered to her child to try and sleep. A businessman already had his eyes closed before takeoff. Someone near the back was quietly watching a movie, the screen reflecting faintly in their glasses. Nothing unusual. Nothing memorable. At exactly 11:42 p.m., the aircraft pushed back from the gate. Right on time. The engines hummed to life, low and steady. That familiar vibration running through the floor, through the seats, through everything. The safety demonstration played. Most people ignored it. A few glanced up. Most didn't bother. They had seen it all before. Minutes later, the plane lifted into the night sky. No turbulence. No sudden drops. Just a smooth climb above the city lights. Until Chicago disappeared beneath a blanket of darkness. As the flight leveled out, the cabin grew quieter. Seatbelt signs turned off. Lights dimmed further. One by one, passengers drifted off to sleep. Heads leaned against windows. Mouths slightly open. Breathing slow and steady. The soft hum of the engines filled the silence. A constant, almost hypnotic sound. Flight attendants moved quietly through the aisle, checking seatbelts, offering water, adjusting vents. Everything was routine. Completely routine. No delays. No strange behavior. No unexpected events. Even the captain's voice, when it came over the intercom, was calm, almost reassuring. Ladies and gentlemen, we're cruising at 36,000 feet, expected arrival in Los Angeles at 2:13 a.m. local time. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of your flight. And that's exactly what everyone did. They relaxed. They slept. They trusted the flight. 143 passengers boarded that plane. And according to every record, every system, every checklist, 143 passengers were accounted for. No more. No less. The crew had done this flight dozens of times before. Same route. Same schedule. Same procedures. They were used to the silence of red-eye flights. Used to the stillness, the predictability. Calm. Experienced. Unshaken. There was nothing about Flight 717 that stood out. Nothing that hinted that anything was about to go wrong. Until tonight. As the last passengers stepped off the plane, the cabin slowly returned to silence. The usual noise faded away. No more conversations. No more footsteps rushing down the aisle. No more overhead bins slamming shut. Just emptiness. The kind of silence that only happens after a full flight finally clears out. One of the flight attendants stayed behind. Just like always. It was part of the routine. A final check before the cleaning crew came in. A quick walk from the back of the plane to the front. Scanning every row, every seat, every corner. Looking for anything left behind. Phones. Wallets. Headphones. Sometimes even passports. It wasn't unusual for people to forget things. It happened all the time. So she started from the rear of the cabin. Walking slowly down the aisle. Her footsteps echoed softly against the floor. A quiet, hollow sound in the now empty aircraft. Row 28, clear. Row 27, nothing. Row 26, empty. Seat belts loose. Armrests up. Blankets tossed aside. Everything exactly as expected. She moved forward, row by row. Not rushing. Not thinking much about it. Just another routine check at the end of another routine flight. But then, somewhere around the middle of the cabin, she slowed down. At first, she didn't even realize why. Something felt off. Not obvious. Not immediate. Just a subtle feeling. Like something didn't belong. Her eyes scanned ahead. Row 19, empty. Row 18, empty. And then, row 17. She stopped. There was someone there. Sitting in seat 17A. For a second, her mind tried to make sense of it. Maybe she missed them earlier. Maybe they were just waiting. Maybe they fell asleep during landing. It happens. Passengers doze off. Especially on late-night flights like this. But something about this didn't feel right. The man wasn't slumped over like someone sleeping. He wasn't leaning against the window. He was sitting upright. Perfectly still. Head slightly tilted. Facing forward. Not moving at all. Not even a small shift. Not even the subtle movement of breathing. She stood there for a moment. Just watching him. Waiting for something. A twitch. A sigh. Any sign that he was just another tired passenger who hadn't woken up yet. But nothing came. The silence around him felt different. Heavier. Like the air had thickened. Like the space around seat 17A didn't belong to the rest of the plane anymore. She took a cautious step closer. Then another. Her footsteps, once soft and steady, now sounded louder in her ears. Row 16. She was getting closer now. Close enough to see more detail. The shape of his shoulders. The way his hands rested on his lap. Still. Too still. She hesitated. A small pause. Then she spoke. Softly. Carefully. Sir. No response. Not even the slightest reaction. She waited a second. Maybe he didn't hear her. Maybe he was in a deep sleep. It wouldn't be the first time. She stepped closer. Now standing just a few feet away from seat 17A. Sir, she said again. Still nothing. No movement. No sound. No sign that he had even heard her voice. A strange feeling crept in. Something she couldn't quite explain. A quiet tension building in her chest. Because by now, she was close enough to know one thing for sure. He wasn't asleep. And whatever he was, it wasn't normal. She thought he was asleep. She was wrong. Sir. Her voice was barely above a whisper. It didn't carry far. It didn't need to. The cabin was so quiet now. Even the smallest sound felt too loud. She waited. Nothing. No reaction. No movement. Not even the subtle shift of someone waking up. Just silence. The kind of silence that presses in on you. That makes you suddenly aware of your own breathing. Your own heartbeat. She swallowed, steadying herself. Then she took another step closer. Slow. Careful. The space between them shrinking. That's when she felt it. A sudden drop in temperature. It wasn't dramatic, not at first. Just enough to notice. A faint chill brushing against her skin. Like walking into a room where a window had been left open. But there were no open windows. No vents blowing cold air. Nothing that explained it. She paused. Her breath caught slightly in her throat. Then she took one more step. Closer now. Too close to ignore what was in front of her. Above them. The overhead light flickered. Once. Twice. A soft, uneven pulse of light that briefly cast shadows across his face. Then snapped back to normal. For a split second. Everything looked distorted. Unnatural. She blinked, trying to shake it off. Trying to convince herself it was nothing. Just a faulty bulb. Just her imagination. Sir, can you hear me? Still nothing. Her voice sounded thinner now. Less certain. She leaned in slightly. Close enough to finally see his face clearly. And that's when everything inside her froze. His eyes were open. Wide. Completely open. Staring straight ahead. Not at her. Not at anything. Just forward. Unfocused. Empty. For a moment, her brain struggled to process what she was seeing. Because something about it wasn't just unusual. It was wrong. Deeply wrong. She waited for it. That natural, automatic movement everyone makes without thinking. A blink. Just one. A simple closing and opening of the eyes. But it never came. Seconds passed. Too many seconds. And he didn't blink. Not once. Her chest tightened. Her pulse quickened, thudding harder against her ribs. She shifted slightly, trying to catch his gaze. Trying to see if his eyes would follow her movement. They didn't. They stayed fixed. Locked in place. As if he wasn't seeing anything at all. Or worse. As if he was seeing something she couldn't. A faint ringing began to build in her ears. Soft at first. Then sharper. Drowning out the already suffocating silence around her. She became hyper-aware of everything. The hum of the aircraft's systems. The faint flicker of the light above. The sound of her own breathing, uneven now. And him. Still sitting there. Still staring. Still not blinking. She took a step back without realizing it. A small, instinctive movement. Like her body was trying to create distance. Before her mind could even understand why. Because deep down, something was telling her. This wasn't a passenger. This wasn't someone who had simply fallen asleep. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. And whatever was sitting in seat 17A shouldn't have been there at all. The captain was called immediately. At first, it was just a quiet message over the intercom. Low, controlled, professional. But there was urgency behind it. The kind of urgency you don't question. Within minutes, the captain stepped into the cabin. His expression was calm, but focused. He had seen a lot in his years flying. Difficult passengers. Medical emergencies. Unexpected situations. But the look on the flight attendant's face told him this was different. He didn't say much. Just nodded, and walked toward row 17. Each step measured. Careful. As he approached the seat, he slowed down. Then stopped. For a moment. He simply stood there. Looking. Studying the man sitting in 17A. The same still posture. The same empty stare. The same unnatural stillness. No blinking. No movement. Nothing. The captain exhaled quietly, then turned away. "Let's check the manifest," he said. His voice was steady. But there was a slight edge to it now. Something just beneath the surface. They moved quickly. Back toward the front of the plane. Into the small area where crew systems could be accessed. A tablet was pulled up. Passenger records loaded. The full list appeared on screen. Row by row. Seat by seat. Every name. Every assignment. The captain scanned it once. Then again. Slower this time. More carefully. Until his fingers stopped. Seat 17A. He stared at it. Or rather, at the space where something should have been. Because there was nothing there. No name. No passenger ID. No ticket number. Just an empty slot. Seat 17A. Was unassigned. The captain frowned. "That's not possible," someone said quietly. Every seat on a red-eye like this was usually filled. Even if it wasn't, it would still be logged. There was always a record. Always. But this? This was blank. Completely blank. No booking. No check-in. No trace. The captain looked back toward the cabin. Toward row 17. Then back at the screen. Run it again, he said. They refreshed the system. Same result. Nothing. Seat 17A didn't exist, at least not on paper. And yet, someone was sitting there. A silence settled over the crew. Heavier now. More real. Because this wasn't just strange anymore. This was impossible. Get security footage, the captain said. His voice sharper now. More urgent. Within minutes, airport security pulled the boarding recordings. Camera angles from the gate. From the jet bridge. From inside the aircraft. They began reviewing everything. Every single passenger who stepped onto that plane. One by one. Faces appeared on the screen. Boarding passes scanned. Passengers walking down the aisle. Taking their seats. Row 1. Row 5. Row 12. Everything matched. Every person accounted for. Every seat filled exactly as listed. They fast-forwarded. Watching the cabin fill up. Watching people settle in. Watching the plane prepare for departure. Then they paused. Focused on row 17. Seat 17A. Empty. Completely empty. No one sat there during boarding. No one passed by and slipped into that seat. No one lingered. Nothing. They kept watching. The plane pushed back. Taxiing. Takeoff. Still empty. Minutes passed. The cabin lights dimmed. Passengers began to settle. Some sleeping. Some watching screens. Still nothing in 17A. The seat remained empty. Exactly as it should have been. The footage continued. 10 minutes. 20. 30. Then. Something changed. At first, it was subtle. So subtle, they almost missed it. A distortion in the image. A brief flicker. Like a glitch in the recording. The screen stuttered for just a second. Static crackled faintly through the audio. And when the image stabilized again, someone was there. Sitting in seat 17A. The room went completely silent. No one spoke. No one moved. Because they had all seen it. The seat had been empty. One moment, nothing. The next, occupied. No one walked into frame. No one sat down. There was no transition. No explanation. Just sudden presence. Like he had always been there. And yet, hadn't. The captain leaned closer to the screen. Eyes narrowing. Rewind that, he said. They did. Again. And again. Each time, the same result. An empty seat. A flicker. A glitch. And then. Him. Sitting perfectly still. Already in place. Already staring forward. As if he had been there the entire time. A low, uneasy realization settled over everyone in the room. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a system error. And it definitely wasn't a missing passenger. Because whatever was sitting in seat 17A didn't board that plane. It just appeared. No one spoke for a while. The footage kept looping. That same moment playing over and over again. An empty seat. A flicker. A distortion. And then. Someone there. Like reality itself had skipped a step. The room felt tighter now. Heavier. Like the air had been drained of something, replaced with something else. That's when one of the crew members, an older flight attendant, shifted uneasily. You could see it in her face. Recognition. The kind that comes slowly. Unwillingly. "I've seen this before," she said quietly. At first, no one responded. But the captain turned. "What do you mean?" he asked. She hesitated. Like she wasn't sure she should say it out loud. Like saying it might somehow make it real again. Then she took a breath. "Flight 717, she said slowly. "It wasn't always like this." The room went still. Every eye on her now. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about what was happening now. This had happened before. Exactly 1 year ago, she continued. There was another Flight 717. Same route. Same departure window. Chicago to Los Angeles. Everything normal. Until it wasn't. The aircraft took off without issue. Climbed to cruising altitude. Checked in with air traffic control like any other flight. Then, somewhere over the Midwest, it vanished. Not gradually. Not with a warning. Just, gone. Radar contact was lost. Communication cut off. No distress call. No emergency signal. Nothing. Air traffic control tried to reach them. Again and again. No response. 4 hours. There was nothing. No signal. No location. Just silence. Search teams were deployed. Aircraft scanned the skies. Ground crews combed through possible crash zones. It didn't make sense. A plane doesn't just disappear. Not like that. Not without a trace. Then hours later, it reappeared. The signal came back suddenly. Strong. Clear. Like it had never left. The plane was located, still in the air. Still flying. As if nothing had happened. It landed safely. No visible damage. No signs of distress. From the outside, everything looked normal. But inside? That was a different story. Passengers were confused. Disoriented. Some claimed they had lost track of time. Others said nothing unusual had happened at all. There were inconsistencies. Small details that didn't line up. Moments no one could explain. But the strangest part was discovered after everyone had been accounted for. After the final headcount. After the reports were filed. There was one passenger who never made it off that plane. No one saw him leave. No one remembered sitting next to him. No record of him exiting the aircraft. And yet, he had boarded. His name was on the manifest. His seat was assigned. His belongings were still there. But he was gone. Vanished without a trace. Like he had never existed at all. The airline investigated. Authorities got involved. Every possibility was explored. But no explanation was ever found. Eventually, the case went cold. Filed away. Forgotten. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. Until now. Because slowly, piece by piece, everything was starting to line up. Same flight number. Same route. Same seat. Seat 17A. The captain didn't say anything for a moment. He just stood there. Processing it. Then he turned back to the system. "Pull up the old passenger records," he said. His voice was lower now. More controlled. But there was something in it. A quiet urgency. The kind that comes when you already know. You're not going to like what you find. The records loaded slowly. Archived data from exactly 1 year ago. Flight 717. Same route. Same date. A full list of passengers appeared on the screen. Names scrolling down. One after another. Normal people. Normal lives. Until they stopped. One name stood out. Highlighted. Like it had been waiting to be found. Daniel Hargrove. Seat assignment, 17A. The room went silent again. He said the name out loud. Barely above a whisper. Daniel Hargrove. Something about saying it made it heavier. More real. They pulled up his profile. A photograph appeared on the screen. Driver's license photo. Neutral expression. Plain background. Nothing unusual. Just an ordinary man. For a second. No one moved. No one spoke. Because they already knew. Before they even turned. They already knew what they were going to see. Slowly. Almost reluctantly. The captain looked back toward the cabin. Toward row 17. Toward seat 17A. The others followed. One by one. And there he was. Still sitting exactly the same way. Head slightly tilted. Body perfectly still. Facing forward. They looked at the screen. Then back at him. Then back at the screen again. No difference. Same face. Same features. Same expression. Even the clothes matched. Every detail, identical. Like time had frozen him in place. Or worse. Like he had never left that flight at all. A cold realization spread through the room. Slow. Unavoidable. The man sitting in seat 17A wasn't just a stranger. Wasn't just something unexplained. He was the passenger. Who was never found. The one who disappeared. The one who never got off Flight 717. And now, 1 year later, he was back. Sitting in the exact same seat. With the exact same empty stare. As if he had been waiting. The entire time. But that wasn't the worst part. Not even close. Because up until that moment, at least he was still there. Still visible. Still contained. Still sitting in that seat, where they could see him. Where they could keep track of him. Where whatever this was, still had a place. The captain gave the order for security to come on board. No hesitation this time. No more quiet discussions. This had gone too far. Minutes passed. Short minutes. But they felt longer. He was still there. Seat 17A. Unmoving. Unblinking. Exactly the same. Like time had stopped around him, but nowhere else. No one approached him again. No one dared. They just waited. Watching. Listening. For anything. A breath. A twitch. A sign. But nothing came. And then. Footsteps. Distant at first. Then closer. Security had arrived. 2 officers stepped into the aircraft. Their presence should have made things feel normal again. Controlled. Safe. But it didn't. If anything, it made the silence heavier. They were briefed quickly. Short, tense sentences. No one wanted to say too much. Because none of it made sense. The officers nodded, then moved down the aisle. Step by step. Toward row 17. Toward seat 17A. The crew watched from a distance. Every movement slow now. Careful. Measured. The officers reached the row. Stopped. Looked at the seat. And then. They froze. Just for a second. Confusion. clear on their faces. They turned back. One of them frowned slightly. "Where is he?" he asked. The question didn't register at first. The captain stepped forward. "What do you mean?" he said. The officer gestured toward the seat. "Seat 17A. Empty. Completely empty." The captain's expression changed instantly. "No," he said. "That's not possible." He walked forward quickly now. Faster than before. The others followed. Row 17. Seat 17A. Nothing. No one there. No movement. No presence. Just an empty seat. Exactly the way it should have been. Exactly the way it was before all of this started. The air felt normal again. Warmer. Lighter. But that didn't make it better. It made it worse. Because now, he was gone. And no one had seen him leave. No footsteps. No sound. No shifting of fabric. No movement in the aisle. Nothing. They checked the surrounding rows. Nothing. They checked the lavatories. Empty. They checked the cockpit. No one. It was as if he had simply stopped existing. Like he had never been there at all. But they knew that wasn't true. They had seen him. Every one of them. They had footage of him. Proof. Or at least, they thought they did. Security rushed to review the cameras again. Every angle. Every second. But this time, there was nothing. No footage of him standing up. No footage of him walking away. No footage of anyone leaving that seat. It was just empty. From one moment to the next. Occupied. Then gone. Like the footage itself refused to explain it. Like whatever had happened, didn't want to be seen. A deep, unsettling silence filled the cabin again. He wasn't there anymore. But somehow, that felt worse. Because now, he could be anywhere. That's when one of the officers noticed something. A small piece of paper, resting neatly on the seat. Right where he had been sitting. They approached carefully. As if it might disappear too. Or worse, react. The officer picked it up slowly. Turned it over. Looked at it. Then his expression shifted. Confusion, turning into something colder. He handed it to the captain. "Take a look at this." The captain glanced down. And froze. It was a boarding pass. Clean. Fresh. Not worn. Not crumpled. Like it had just been printed moments ago. The name on it. Daniel Hargrove. Seat number 17A. The captain's grip tightened slightly. Then his eyes moved to the date. And that's when everything stopped. Printed clearly, unmistakably. Was tomorrow's date. Not yesterday. Not today. Tomorrow. The room felt colder again. Not physically. Something deeper. Something harder to explain. Because whatever had been sitting in that seat hadn't just come from the past. It was going somewhere. And according to that boarding pass, it hadn't finished its journey yet. So if you ever find yourself on a late-night flight, half asleep, somewhere between cities, and you finally reach your row, only to see someone already sitting in your seat, don't assume it's a mistake. Don't ask them to move. Don't even say a word. Because if you look closely, and something about them feels off, too still, too quiet, too empty, you might not be looking at another passenger. You might be looking at someone who was never supposed to be there. And by the time you realize it, it might not be your seat anymore.